4, 3.
We'll do it live.
Now we're live! Erin Kennedy. The general craziness of it, the impact on your life.
We have gone through so many stories and we said, you know what? This should not be kept to the two of us. Hello, my friend.
I'm having one of those days, Erin, where I'm just like...
I actually wanted to wish you a very happy Groundhog's Day, Megan.
You know how I feel about that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe, you don't even know how many texts I've gotten today and yesterday in preparation for Groundhog's Day. It is hysterical. Maybe that's it. I have this overarching just like aggravation today, probably because of that freaking rodent. I
knew that was everybody strap in because the meteorologist in Megan is kind of going to go off on a tear right now.
Here we go. Here's my tear. Here it is, Erin. Okay. Like, as a meteorologist, you spend hours every day looking at maps, poring over the science, trying to make people understand the science. Like, when you get it wrong, you get all kinds of crap all over everywhere. When you get it right, you're like heralded, right? Okay. It's like a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Yes. Right.
Then one time a year on February 2nd, a little rat comes out of a hole. People lift it up like the second coming, and I have to report on what the rat says. Like, I was always like, it's a rodent. Like, I'm looking at the Climate Prediction Center, and the next 6 weeks are going to be 15 million times above average, and the rodent says it's winter, and I got to say that. Like,
why is it that we're so taken with Groundhog Day? And also, I do think it's more of a thing in the Midwest. I don't know if I told you this, but when I was a student at Notre Dame, I went into the dining hall one day and there were balloons everywhere and decorations on the table. And it was like a party. And I was like, what's going on? And one of the women who worked there, she's like, it's Groundhog's Day.
Yes. Here's why, Erin.
Tell me why.
You know how I feel about this day, but this is why. Because in the Midwest, it's cold, it's miserable, February sucks, and this is like your one mental, especially if you don't understand the science of it, this is like your one moment where you're like, oh, the rodent told me it's finally going to be better soon. There's a chance, like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Something to glom onto.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you're in the South, you do not care. Nobody cares about Groundhog's Day other than, like, when I was working in Miami, we would laugh, like, look at all those stupid Northerners lifting the rodent out, hoping you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are multiple groundhogs, you know.
No, there's just one.
There's one.
I forgot to do my little camera thing, so this will just take me 2 seconds.
There's one real groundhog that everybody pays attention to, Punxsutawney Phil. But there's another one. It's Staten Island Chuck. I don't know what Chuck said this year. You know, so multiple groundhogs. All of them rodents.
Rodents who did not go to weather school like Megan did.
Yeah. If I say this, do you know what I'm talking about? Rodents of unusual size.
No.
Did you watch Princess Bride?
Oh, yes. Okay, but not for a long time. We're trying to get the kids in it.
Love that movie.
Megan, we have so much to get to, so I want to scoot right along because I know you could talk about Punxsutawney for 8 hours.
Rodents? 100 years. I don't like that thing.
No, I know. So last week we did a quick little live to invite people's questions as kind of an AMA. And thank you, because we got so many great, thoughtful questions, which I wouldn't have even thought to like address these things. So it's
Right.
nice to solicit this. I don't think we're going to get to everything today. So I think this will probably be a 2-parter, which is great because that means if you still have questions or now that we get into something else will come to your mind. So definitely keep them coming.
Ooh, I would like to call this a series.
Ooh, I kind of
Right?
like that too.
I'm sure we could do that. I'm sure we could do this like often.
So segging on your Punxsutawney, how long does it take you to formulate a forecast and put the graphics together? And what made you interested in meteorology?
Okay, so there are a lot of ways that meteorologists are helped nowadays that back like when people were using felt boards did not exist. You used to get maps printed out on die-fax like printers, and they were maps and you'd hold them up and look at it. That's why meteorology has become so much more accurate because we've got more tools, more stuff. So you've got a lot of places you can look to see all the models. check with the National Weather Service and see what they're looking and thinking at. So like, honestly, I would get in at about like 3 and I would spend a good half an hour working on the forecast. Now, that being said, each day builds off the next. So it might take me longer on Monday because I have been out for 2 days, but like by the time I'm coming in from Sunday to Monday, I'm basically just tracking what's changed and it makes it a little easier.
I know too, sometimes if a meteorologist were real slammed in the morning, you could pull the night meteorologist forecast and maybe just tack on a day at the end, right?
Yes, 100%. And any meteorologist who says they haven't done that is 100% lying. If you're like super late, you're like, dude, that guy at night just finished it like 3 hours ago. I'm going to use the same thing. And a lot of the stations want there to be continuity anyway. So they wouldn't want the guy at night saying it's going to be 95 tomorrow and me coming in and saying it's going to be 65. Like, unless there was a real reason that something major had changed. Graphics, it takes also like basically I would be looking at everything and making my graphics at the same time as I'm going along, essentially. And then what made me interested in meteorology? I always loved the weather, but I didn't love it. Like, you know, there's those stories people say like, oh, there was a tornado that ripped apart my house and I fell in love with it. Like I do not have that story. I have instead, I just love to look at the map on the back of USA Today. Do you remember that newspaper? Yeah. Where it had a beautiful colored weather map on the back. And you could see like, oh my God, it's like 2 in Alaska and 97 in Miami. I just loved staring at that thing. So for me, it's more like because I love geography and that's a great way to look at maps and places and see how they're different and stuff like that. That's it.
Now, you didn't always wear just the meteorologist cap though, right? We've talked about you did report on just kind of general assignment stuff in New York, right? Any other markets? Because there was one time in Texas I had to do the weather. And all I mean by that is that the meteorologist gave me the numbers to read with the days. And I was so stressed about it. I don't know why. It was like a foreign language to me.
Yeah. And it's funny because like my first, like studying meteorology in school, you know, you have to, if you're going to be able to do it correctly. Like, okay, there's so much more science than what a meteorologist will ever tell people on the air. You just don't need those details. It's kind of like on a need to know basis. And the important thing is getting the story out in a way that people can understand it. But I think like within the scope of that, there are little things that you just don't study in school. Like there's a flood warning or a this or a that. Like you don't study that as much as you might think you do. That's stuff that I learned on the job in my first job. Like I learned about what flooding was, but like when the warning comes out, you learn warning versus watch, but like in practice, when you're doing the weather and all of a sudden a flood warning comes up, you're like, oh, holy crap. Do I put this on live? What do I do? How do I, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So you got to work through that a little bit.
Okay. So now I wanted to make that because that was a natural seg. So what is the purpose of signing an NDA? That's a non-disclosure agreement, especially if you're not on the air. Yeah, I agree. We'll do these one at a time. So Megan and I signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
A lot of people do.
But Marissa didn't. I feel like because Megan and I were 2 of 400 people who were laid off in one day at all CBS stations in response to COVID. And there was no formula that was shared with us as to why. All we could assume was it was some combination of where you were in your contract, how much money you made, and whether or not they liked you, right?
I never really got an answer to that. So it's like all kind of a little bit of a mystery.
And we never will.
And we never will. But I think
so. We signed the NDA because that was the condition on which we would receive our severance.
Yes. And I think what was happening in the landscape a little bit with CBS right then as well was there was a big like investigation going on simultaneously, not related to any of the firings, but more in terms of something that was going on like at higher levels. And I think they were like, oh, dear Lord, this investigation is going on. Plus, we've got all these people that are going out the door. Maybe that had something to do with it too.
Yeah, right. Guess. So you're addressing, Les Moonves, who was one of several high-powered men who was abusing his authority. Meanwhile, didn't you just
Among
walk away
other
with like
things.
$23 million?
Yeah,
So
probably.
what's the purpose of our NDA? I don't know.
Not sure. I really know.
As we've said before, Megan and I were deposed. We won't get into that, but I, in retrospect, shouldn't have signed it because I think that a lawyer would have said, Erin, this is ridiculous. I know a lawyer because my lawyer friend said you shouldn't have signed that because it is in perpetuity too, which is ridiculous.
But also think about the fact that where we were in our lives and what was going on in the world in that moment. So like we were getting let go, which is stressful in and of itself, even though I kind of was hoping to get out of the business at some point. I wanted to step off the merry-go-round myself instead of getting booted off. So it's still a little bit of okay. Even if you're not sad, it's still like, eek. But also, it was COVID, like the core depths of despair COVID, right? Like where like you haven't seen your family, you're afraid to go outside, you're putting like a mask on to go to pick up.
And then they're dangling a golden carrot in front of you.
So you're just kind of like, oh my God, like, who knows if we're even going to live to see another day. Sign it.
That's right.
Basically.
I have nothing to disclose.
Right.
So, especially if you're not on air. Oh, you mean now because we're not on air.
Right. But we have a platform here and you have a platform on social media and you have a platform like so many places now. And I think while it may not relate to like being on the air across the street at another network, you can still talk about things many places.
I have a screen grab of the NDA.
You've paid way more attention to this than I ever have, I think.
Nuh-uh. I think we both
don't have a screen grab of this.
Attention to it.
I don't even know where mine is.
I won't pull it up right now until I get it approved by my lawyer friend. Anyway, let's keep moving on.
Good call.
How often in either of your careers did you have to work closely with people who you did not like? So the thing with news is you have to work very closely with people. I mean that in a literal sense, and I mean it in a very figurative sense. I have sat elbow to elbow with people who, as soon as the show was over, there was no small talk. It's like that Anchorman, the end of Anchorman and their newscast when they're like, I want to punch you in the ovaries. Oh.
Yes.
It kind of felt like that. But thankfully, the people who, even if I didn't like them, it was professional enough that it wasn't on air. In fact, there was one man who I did not love working with, and a consultant was watching the newscast with us. And she said, this is great. You guys can't fake that. This is great that you guys like each other.
You're like, well, apparently we
And I was like, thank you.
But I think also like what people need to realize about it is it's not even just the people on the air that you may not like. You may be doing your job on air and somebody that you literally want to punch in the ovaries is talking to you over the producer IFB or whatever. And so like that's in your ear too.
Right.
Like I've had little like altercations, like verbal altercations with people like during the show from that in that way. And that just sets you in a bad place. And like that, I don't know. I feel like in news, and I'm realizing now that I'm more in place in sort of like a corporate-ish America thing, like not quite, corporate America, but more that vibe. Now that it's a regular work environment for me, there's a lot of that stuff that people say that's like just total BS. Like, there was an Instagram while I'm talking. I'm going to find it. Okay. Hold on one second.
Okay. I'll segue to the next one. Most proud moment in each of your careers too. As silly as it is, I am still very, very proud of my Emmys because even though it is a bit of a racket, I always wanted to win one and then I wanted to win 3 so that I could say I had several. Yes. And then it's beyond a couple. But the one Emmy night I went to was with my husband, and the first Emmy I won was in Ohio. And it was, a long night of drinking and a lot of fun. And I loved my morning team. And it was really gratifying to win this. And so we had taken a cab there and a cab on the way home. And on the way home, I had the cab stop at a local liquor store so that we could get a bottle of champagne. And then Matt and I went home and drank the bottle of champagne. It's just a great memory. Yeah. And I'm really proud of it.
No, I get that. My proudest moment was, I don't know that there was like one particular moment, but it was anytime I did anything on the network, I was super proud of doing that. So that would have been like the times I was on CBS This Morning, or like I did Good Morning America back. That was the first time I was ever on a network show when I was working in Miami. And I got to fly up there and be on the big show, you know, and those moments are moments too, where you feel like you're operating at your highest potential, kind of, I guess. And like also all the people, and I don't even just mean on air people, but like almost everybody at that level,
the best of the best,
is the best of the best.
Right.
It's you can be as good as you can possibly be at that level, I think. Okay, so let me also read this. This is what I'm talking about. Back to number 2.
Okay.
Like when people are writing emails and basically it's like, sorry for being unclear. What you really mean is, how many times do I have to go over this, Mark? Like that didn't happen in TV. Like in TV, you wouldn't say, this is a good start. You would say, what the hell are you doing? This is not what we need to do. Like there was no filter of respectability, was there?
Yeah, but I think it comes down to, again, deadlines. You didn't have time to kind of pussyfoot around everything, right?
No.
You had to make sure that people understood what you wanted almost immediately. So there's a way to do that tactfully, and there's a way to not do it tactfully, right?
Yes.
And I think that, you know, that's why you can make or break friendships, but it's why now it's you and I too are very clear about communicating what we want. And if it doesn't work, I realize I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings if I just say, no, that doesn't make sense. We can't do that. Let's start over.
Yes.
And then people are like, all right, let's start over.
It's weird because when I first got out of TV, I would have said that I'm the type of person that wants to keep the peace at any point. I do not like altercations. Now that I'm out of the business and I'm seeing the way the real world works, I'm willing to mix stuff up now, because we were always under that like crazy, like everybody was willing to just pop off. You know what I mean? But now nobody does. And I'm like, dude, that's how you get stuff done.
That's true.
I think that was my big realization. And literally in like the last couple weeks, I was like, holy crap. Unless somebody's honest and willing to put their balls on the line, nothing happens. Go ahead. Next.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
I said to Lance the other day, and this may not be child appropriate. I said to him the other day, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm a little bit of a bitch now. Because I wasn't before, like, you know, but now.
I don't think you're a B now either, Megan.
More than I was, though. But you're probably right. But like for me, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. I would love to hear some embarrassing moments, things on air, like not knowing you're on live, wardrobe malfunctions, or having the giggles or hiccups. So I will share one of my more embarrassing moments. And, you know, Megan, I got a box full of DVC Pros, which I've got to figure out how to convert.
Yeah, I've got some too, and I have no idea how to make them. Yeah.
So I was in Rhode Island on a very hot summer night. I was the weekend anchor at this point, so I was out reporting at night. And there was a boy who had drowned in a local reservoir, and it was so hot and sticky. So I had my hair pulled back, and I am deathly afraid of moths. And so our photog put up floodlights to illuminate the ocean. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see anything, right?
Sure, of course.
Well, the moths are just flocking to these lights. And I said, Andy, please let's move these away, because if one of these comes near me during my live shot, I'm going to freak out. And so we move them farther away. However, of course, I am in the middle of my intro into my package, the live shot, and a moth dives bomb me. And because my hair is like up, it gets stuck in my hair and starts like flapping around. And so I'm talking like this and just waiting for my roll cue so that they could take the package. Thankfully, I held it together. They took my package and I just lost it.
Oh my God, yes.
Lost it. And then one time I did have the hiccups for about 20 minutes, and I know I have that on DVC Pro. I just need to get it.
Okay. So mine, like, can't even tell you how many times I peed with my mic on. Where the whole...
That's another question. A lot of people have bathroom questions for us, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so like I used to wear my microphone on my bra strap. So every day I would unzip my dress when we get into the studio, turn around. Erin would put my microphone, clip it on my bra strap. I would do the same to her. We'd move on or whatever if you needed help. Sometimes Erin was good with just like sliding it down, but I needed it like clipped on.
Because they had Spanx. We've been through this, but
Yep.
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. But I was, moving. So it needed to be clipped on. So anyway, it's hard to reach it. Like you kind of have to go up and around and backwards and it put your arm in a real weird angle. So sometimes I would just forget to turn it off and then like pee with the mic on. And actually, truth be told, my shoulder hurt for a good year even after TV, whenever I would put it at a weird angle because of all the times I turned that microphone on and off.
Yeah.
But then I've also forgotten to turn the microphone back on. So when I turn it off and then I'm on the air and I'm trying to do stuff and my mic's not on, you get all embarrassed about that.
But why is that embarrassing, Meg? You don't mean because a director would hear you pee, because that would happen all the time.
That's what I mean.
But it was never on air. You didn't have an open mic.
On where I'm peeing on the air? Yeah. No, but I've said stuff I shouldn't have said on the air when they had my mic potted up and I didn't know
What did you say?
Potted up. I was talking about somebody.
Somebody in the building?
Yeah, live on the air. Thankfully, I didn't say the name, but like if you were said person, you would have been able to identify. And then there was another moment for me because my mouth gets me in trouble, like. So, and I was working in one of my markets. I will not talk about it, but like there was a little thing where somebody was just being absolutely ridiculous. Like, I need to go first. And I was like, I've got to be here for 2 hours. Let me at least bust out like 1 or 2 or something so I can go to the bathroom, whatever. Demanded to go
first to the bathroom? What are you talking about?
Recording stuff. We were recording.
Oh. Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
I was not having it that this person thought they were more important and needed to record theirs first. Okay. But I gave in to keep the peace, but then talked about her as soon as she left.
That's nice, passive aggressive.
Yeah. Well, but my mic was on, and in one of the control rooms, she's walking past the control room. I'm like, oh, she's a diva. Well, yeah, that didn't turn out real well either. But I mean, I've tripped on the air, about all the things. I never really got embarrassed about things that would happen on the air, just because I kind of thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Wardrobe malfunctions. We both have had rips in our dresses, like during a show. Haven't you?
Really? I have no.
Yeah, you had that one dress that had the rip under the zipper. Remember that?
Oh yes, I did.
I couldn't see it, but like it was there.
Right, you couldn't see it. Yeah. Testing the tensile strength of my dresses sometimes. As I often said, just because you could put it on doesn't mean it fits.
That's 100% the case. I had one dress that wouldn't unzip anymore. I had to put it on like in a really weird way because I couldn't get the zipper undone. Anyway.
Yeah. How did you handle times when you absolutely had to go to the bathroom when you were stuck out in the field with your male colleagues? First of all, it was almost 100% a male colleague. Photogs are almost always men.
Probably 95%. Yeah.
They are essentially your brothers. So there's no shame. There's no discomfort. There's no embarrassment with any of that.
They have had reporters that have needed to pee with them for years on end.
And years to come.
Yeah.
So if you're out in the field, there's 2 things. Either you're out in the live truck, and then you could have, as a reporter can draw you any map of the viewing area and which gas stations are good for peeing, which ones are bad for peeing,
where it's locked and you can't go in, whatever. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one thing. I have also knocked on doors. Like if I was stranded out somewhere and there are homes nearby, I'd be like, hi, I'm, with so-and-so and I have to be here for like another 8. Can I please just use your restroom? 100% of the time people would be like, oh, of course, especially when you're pregnant, because then that's...
Of course. Yeah. They're saving the day. Yeah.
And I have also been at a scene which was with a large police presence, and police are there, and my truck can't move because it's already got, the satellite up connected to the bird and everything. And I would go to the police and I would say, I really have to go to the restroom. Can you please bring me somewhere? And they would bring me somewhere too.
See, so there's a lot of ways to get around it. Now, it gets a little different when you're covering like natural disaster type stuff. So for most of my career, I was in the studio or like covering a red carpet or something. And chances are there's always gonna be a bathroom you can go to. I did not really have that many problems with that. Stop at the gas station, go to the bathroom. But when you're covering a tornado or something and you're locked down and or said gas stations have been completely demolished, That's when I ended up having to go pee in the garbage can in the live truck. Because there was literally nowhere else to go. All the guys were alongside the building that had been destroyed except one wall. But the women, it's like, there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you literally had to pee like behind a bush, but all the bushes were blown apart. Like literally it was a tornado.
So, right. I feel like the answer is just simply judgment-free zone.
Yes. There, I can liken it to when we had Jim Lanahan on, we talked about the similarities between being on stage and being on the air and TV.
Right. Broadway
That's
producer.
one of those things like they'll just drop their clothes backstage and change into their next costume and no one even cares. It doesn't even register as something.
You said they still have the mic on and they're peeing in a bucket.
That's right.
They're singing their solo while they're, I mean, that takes skill.
TV is the same thing. TV is the same thing. You just got to do what you got to do. And so you do it and nobody judges because we're all doing it. Yeah.
Erin, do you prefer to work with men or women on air and why? I have no preference. None at all. I can tell you, though, sitting on the desk, I did anchor with Marissa for a couple years. And I think that is hard on viewers because I think that we are conditioned as a society to assume that there is tension between two women, or even with me and Megan. I'm sure there are some people who are like, I bet they hate each other, right?
But we didn't. I mean, we all had a lot of fun working together.
Right. Yeah. So I think that is a larger hurdle for viewers than it is for us.
Which is
I've had more problems
often.
Yeah. I've had more problems working with men. I've had the biggest egos I've worked with have always been men.
They wanted to mansplain you stuff.
Yes. And generally, again, I started young. I was promoted early young. And I was working with men who were much older, and I know that there was a chip on their shoulder, like, well, I should have more reads than she should. People who counted their reads. I should have the lead on every story, as in I should be the first one speaking each time it comes to a 2-shot. And I was not having that. I don't count my reads or anything like that. I don't care who leads, but I do care if you care.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, because that shouldn't matter. I mean, I've worked with, and it was particularly bad at the start of my career when I was,
20 something.
Yeah, 22 years old or whatever, and working with people who'd been in the business for forever and back in like the Ron Burgundy era, and they don't even like women on TV, let alone someone who might be more important than them according to the station or whatever it is. And I also worked on a sports show one time, which I loved. And I loved all of those guys by the end, but dang, they did not make it easy for me when I first set foot in there. I would be interested to talk to some of the female sports reporters. We should see if Megan Malachy wants to come on, because I would love to know what that was like, because not only do you have that dynamic of like kind of being in a world where typically the people who are on the air are male, or certainly were 20 years ago, but also on top of that, how are you like doing the locker rooms and all that stuff? So yeah, I mean, like when I was on that show, no, I wasn't really there because I loved sports so much. I was there
What,
because
really, Megan?
I was supposed to do like the feature part of it.
Right.
But like they made that line in the sand very clear to me that like, do not step on our football toes kind of a deal. You know what I mean?
Right. What type of story do you find to be the most repetitive in news? Gas prices? House fires, probably.
Murders, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, you want to see my gas prices story? Oh my goodness. We just set another record. Gas now over $3 a gallon, but people here say, what are they going to do? They still have to get to work. Tossed a package. Oh my gosh, I still have to go to work. What am I going to do? They're so high.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But don't worry, we have track gas prices. You can go to our website right now. We've looped in with gasbuddy.com so you can find the cheapest prices next to you. Back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, well, we're going on the 10th day in a row of beautiful sunny skies. Nothing better than this in the middle of summer. We've had a high pressure ridge in charge for the last 47 weeks, and the weather's not changed a bit. Like that was for me what it was.
Right.
Like if you got rain or something, usually there's something you can talk about. Like it's going to be a lot of rain or there's flooding or whatever. But if it's like a big ridge of high pressure and you got sunshine straight, ain't nothing happening. Oh my God. That's when they say cut weather to 15 seconds. There's nothing.
All right. Oh,
This is fun.
this is fun. I like this. I think
Yeah.
people will like this as well. You had a Megan one. I don't know what I did. Maybe I accidentally deleted it. I'll try and go back to it. What was the oddest request a station asked you to do? You take that while I think I accidentally deleted your question.
God. All the things were weird, though, if you really break it down. Like, I mean, I've been asked everything from wearing a different type of clothes to speaking a different type of way to addressing the weather a different type of way. Nothing was off limits, really, especially in the beginning of my career, where it was like, hey, we're going to start to wear a bunch of sweaters and skirts because did you see that girl over there? And she's showing her boobs a little bit. And you know what I mean? That, it wasn't exactly said that way, but you knew that's what that was.
Right.
So nothing. After you work in TV for more than like a couple months, not a whole lot is odd, I don't think. You're just kind of like, oh, okay. All right. I think.
Huh. Okay. I'm sorry. I know I saw a separate breakout for you. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Oh, that was it. No. How long did it take you to make the forecast and what made you interested in meteorology? Sorry. So we did do that already.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a really like an odd request that I can think of that.
Yeah. So the oddest request I got was when I was in Ohio anchoring the mornings on KYC with Chris Ty. Perennial second place to the 800-pound gorilla, which was Fox 8. And
you're never going to touch them.
Yeah. But I was at a Gannett, which is now Tegna, and there had been some Gannett stations that were having success with the last 30 seconds of the newscast on a Friday. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Go ahead.
It was a dance party.
You would hate every second of that.
Well, I said no. I said no. And I often don't say no, but here's many of the reasons why I did say no. Number one, I am 5'3" on a tall day. Okay.
With your
Chris Ty is 6'4"
on a short day. Yeah.
So we would have looked like the Spartan cheerleaders on Saturday Night Live. Like I might as well have been coming like through his legs.
Erin, that probably would have done it.
You're probably right.
They would have been like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen put on channel whatever.
Yes, no, you're right. But we did have our money reporter and our meteorologist agree to do it. So they would do the dance party Fridays. And the first time that they did it, the music didn't play, but they were telling them in their ears to dance. So it was just quiet. And they're like,
no.
Oh my gosh. I was like cringing on the inside for them.
Oh, that's awful. And you know what? Honestly, like we've all had moments like that. And it's terrible. And you're like doing it. You're like shaming yourself in front of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just say one more thing. One of my friends was asked to wear a mascot costume for a car dealership, and he had to spin a baton and everything, and he got totally into it and was like great at it.
I had to sign a guy's leg, which he then proceeded to go get tattooed.
He got your name tattooed?
He said he was going to. Now, whether he did, I don't know. But he came up to me with a Sharpie at a Walgreens at an event. I don't know where. We were doing like a weather radio giveaway thing.
Yeah.
Never been more uncomfortable in my life. Now, the station didn't ask me to do this. And in fact, everybody after was like, you should have said no. But I was just in the moment like,
Again, we've been conditioned to say yes for too long.
So we did.
Megan.
By we, I mean me. Sorry. The royal we. So he walks up to me with a Sharpie and goes like this, Erin, pulls his pants up, gives me his thigh. Like, can you sign my leg? And I'm like, you okay? I think I put Megan Glaros in a smiley face. So hopefully that's not actually.
So if anybody goes to the beach in Illinois or Indiana and you see a guy with Megan's name on his thigh. Please take a picture and send
I also had a guy at an event at it was like a diabetes expo. He gave me an Indian burn that hurt literally for days.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know why that happened, but it really freaking hurt.
Well, that's terrible. And I don't think you're supposed to say that anymore.
What? Oh. What do you call it now?
I don't know.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. We have to go though, Megan.
You did a twisty thing on my arm.
A twisty thing on your arm.
See? And then if that happens on the air and you're live and you say something because you don't realize that like you just don't think and you say it, then you're like,
yeah, but you got to play like you didn't say it.
What are you talking about?
You just got to move on, right?
I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, we have to go. So we're going to do this again in another parter. You guys are the best. These are the best questions ever in the whole wide world. Thank you. And we didn't even get to some of the good ones too, right?
Oh, we have to do a part 2. No.
Part 3.
Number 2 in our series.
Series AMA.
Ask me anything.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Megan.
Bye.